Hello, hello, hello. I think we're live again. Let's see. I'm checking out the Twitch chat here to see if we are live. Let me refresh over
Looks
here.
good to me.
Yeah, we are live. So, hi everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming back to another episode of our live series in mobile app redesign for developers. Today we have a really special guest, which is Brandon Minnick. He's gonna be sharing with us a lot today about GitTrends. We're gonna see some. We're gonna be doing a lot of mockups today. Then we're gonna have a. The last hour of the session is gonna be completely live code and a walkthrough through GitTrends code base with the creator himself. And we'll try and implement the feature you guys decided you wanted to see first, which was the star tracker. So I'll let Brandon introduce himself a little bit to the community before we start. So yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Well, thanks. I mean, there's no pressure in this session today at all. Just live coding in front of a studio audience. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and thanks for having me on today. If I haven't met anybody before, my name is Brandon Minnick. I work at Microsoft as a developer advocate. I actually used to work at Xamarin, which is how I made it to Microsoft because they acquired us a couple years ago. And yeah, I am the original creator of the GitTrends app, which if you haven't tuned into any of the series yet, I did a really good job of making it functional, and then Luis made it actually look good because I originally I originally pushed it to the App Store and it looked nothing like it does today. And fortunately, Lewis pinged me. He's like, "Hey, man, this looks really bad. Can I make it better?" I was like,
Hey.
"Yes, please."
It was a little bit
And
nicer
so,
than that.
no, he's been a huge help. Couldn't have done it without you, man. But yeah, this star tracking or star tracking, who knows what we'll call it.
Yeah.
We can call it whatever we want. It's all right. But yeah, this is something that's been on the to-do list for a while. It was one of the first things requested as a feature on the GitHub repo after we pushed it to the App Store, and it's it's been on the to-do list. But I'm excited because it's something that once I saw the recommendation, I was like, yeah, I want that too. And so what's pretty cool is I went ahead and did all the, we'll say the business logic for it. So hopefully it'll just work, but famous last words, right? We'll probably have to rip
Yeah.
out all the things. But yeah, I know for me, this is something really cool because it's, it's helpful to know where you make an impact in open source. And that's the reason I made GitTrends, was to keep up with the different repos, knowing how many views, how many clones, how many stars, like what's the activity on each repo, which one's having the most impact, where should I invest more time. Um, and adding in the star tracker will just be another way to we'll say encourage folks to keep keep track of their apps. I know for me, anytime I get a star, it makes you smile. Like somebody appreciates your work, and we've Lewis and I have put dozens, hundreds of hours into this app, and so it definitely means a lot when we get a star on the repo. And this new feature will let you see all of that and see your progress, and hopefully other developers that'll use GitTrends feel the same way and will also be inspired to do more open source work. And if anybody listening has awesome feature requests too, go ahead and drop them in the repo. It's all open source on GitHub. You can add in your feature requests, and maybe you'll see us on a future live stream doing yours.
Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree. So everybody that's listening, remember what I told you. Always go to the GitTrends repo, go to the issue section, and remember the issue we're working on right now. Let me put it in the chat once more. Here you can put all your also mockup suggestions for the three features we're gonna be developing. We would love to see also your suggestions, not only the ones we're gonna be doing live here, because maybe you have a great idea that we can maybe combine our design with yours, right? So let me. Oh wait, I put it in the Zoom chat instead of Twitch. Go over here. There's the. Okay,
That's good now. Yeah.
there's the issue. So one last message I'm posting in the social media. Let me put it in the Xamarin group, and then we can get started with elevations in dark theme. That is the topic we're gonna be seeing today. Is one of we have like two more sessions, counting this one on some theory on mobile app redesign, and yeah, today we're gonna be seeing elevations in dark theme and how can we improve the experience for our users by providing taking care of this functionality, right? Because you know that there's people that have uh, have a hard time using apps that have high contrast and color because it causes a lot of eye strain for them, and they prefer to have like a more suiting themes for it, right? So definitely it gives you a lot of benefits. I'll walk you through a bit of them. Let me finish here. Xamarin Forms Developer. Here it is. Let me finish putting this message here. In the meantime, let's see who we have in the chat. Guys, as usual, confirm to us that the video is working fine. Everything is moving. You can hear us clearly. Also, say hi if you like in the chat. I see that we have Ricardo already logged in. He's one of the loyal ones. He has been in all the live sessions. He's always there on time. So we really appreciate you, and we're glad you're here today as well. Let me put this here. Brandon Minnick and Twitch TV. There you go. Okay, so it's published, and okay, I see the.
Ricardo says video and audio is good.
Nice, great. So we can get started. Let me move the Zoom to the left side over here. Speaker. And now you guys should be able to see my Adobe XD. Confirm me if you can. See.
I see it.
Yeah, let me put this here. Let me start my video in Zoom, so it doesn't like, compete with OBS and everything goes smoothly. Let me try and move it around. Good. Okay. So today, if you guys notice, I didn't have the time to wait. Let me put. Oh, okay. I noticed something. The video, our camera is not coming up in the scene. Let me set that up for you guys. So I have to activate it here again. Go back to OBS. Come over here. So, wait, I gotta change. Oh, do I need to screen share as well? Let me see. Let's see. Oh yeah, there is working. So let's see. Okay, they're seeing you. Let me see if I can. Where's my Zoom? Okay, show all windows. Yeah, this is like the first time for me screen sharing my my screen on Zoom while I'm streaming. So let me see if I can figure this out. Let's see, Logitech. Oh, I know what I can do. I'll drop the idea of using my Zoom camera, and I'll just add my camera as a source for OBS, and that should work. Let's see. There it is. Okay, good.
It's a
Perfect.
huge shout out. Not a sponsor of the show, but there's a app called StreamYard that is awesome at handling all this stuff, and it's what we've been using at Microsoft for our Learn TV. So I do a weekly show on there with my good friend Chloe Condon, and yeah, it's really nice because OBS, you can do anything with OBS.
Let me search. What's it called again?
StreamYard, StreamYard, and I can't speak to pricing or anything like that since Microsoft got it for us for work, but yeah, it's fantastic. It's super easy to get up and running. It's kind of like
oh, nice.
It's like a easier OBS, because OBS allows you to do anything,
yeah,
but that also makes it really complicated at the same time.
Yeah.
Whereas with StreamYard, it kind of takes care of those, like the floating head conversations, or if you want to share your screen with your head next to it, you can do all that stuff in it. And it's also what we use for the .NET Foundation streams too. So if you ever find yourself
it
joining,
allows you to restream also, like to different sources at the same time. So you can do like YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitch, everything together. Nice.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what we do for our live show on Learn TV, which is called 8 Bits. It's every Wednesday at, let's see, it's 1 p.m. Pacific, so 4 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, we stream it to the Microsoft Developer Twitch channel, and stream it to Learn TV, and stream it to Chloe's YouTube channel. So it's really nice to essentially multiplex your stream out there, and it's just a couple button clicks, because I'm still intimidated by OBS, man. I've used it a couple times, but every time I use it, it takes me like a good 30 minutes to an hour to get set up.
Yeah,
because I have to remember how to do
it took me a few days to get the hang of it. Like initially, I was like, "What is happening here?" And even like after having so much experience like doing live streams with it, it's still like each time you're gonna do one, there's one thing that it's not quite working right, and you have to spend like 5 minutes troubleshooting. I don't know, but it's really powerful. I do not like that I can't like restream from it. That's why I was really interested in what you were saying right now. Because StreamYard, I see it allows you to restream the video to YouTube and all the sites together, right? I used to use another service which was called Restream.o.
Yep, that's another good one.
Yeah, and that basically, so I will stream from my OBS to that stream they were giving me, and he will handle like restreaming it to all the other services. But for some reason, it was not working right a couple like weeks ago, so I have not tried it again. Let's go and see the chat. Oh, wow! I see the chat is active, and we have Ryan in the chat. Wow, long time no see, Ryan. How are you? Yeah, long time no see.
That's not Ryan Davis, is it?
Yeah, Ryan Davis.
The man, the myth, the legend. What's going on, Ryan?
Yep.
I was just singing your praises on I was on a stream earlier this week and chatting about the Xamarin Essentials Interfaces NuGet package. So encouraging everybody that joined me. That was for the Indianapolis Xamarin meetup on Wednesday. But yeah, encourage everybody, if they hadn't heard about it, go check it out, use it. And thanks for all the work you put in, man. You're really good at, or I should say, you're amazing at keeping it up to date. Anytime new version of Xamarin Essentials comes out, Ryan's on top of it. So appreciate the hard work.
Yeah, Ryan is one of our most intelligent community members. He's always active and always willing to help. Like, you can text him anytime and he's surely gonna answer to you. So you guys want to talk about Xamarin, Ryan is your guy. You can just bother him. And he'll most of the time he'll be there. If he's not there, he's probably busy with something from work. But yeah, he'll get back to you. So let's get into our topic of today. So today we're gonna be dealing with elevations and darting in our mobile apps. If you guys notice, this week I didn't have time to publish the blog post before the live stream, so that's why you didn't see my blog post this week. I'll make sure to publish it before Monday next week. So I'll do like a summary of what we're gonna see today, as I always do on the blog post, and also I'll add the video recording of this live stream there as well. Um, so let's get into it. Let's see, darting. Do I want to start here? Okay. So darting. If you guys notice and go to the GitTrends project in Adobe XD, you're gonna see right away here when you come to the, let's say, to the repository page, you're gonna see that in the right side, as I told you in previous sessions, we first developed the light theme of the app, right? And then we decided to work on the dark theme, but as I always have advised you guys, first create the outline of your UI, have everything in place, all the components that you want to use, like everything really well defined, even the colors. And once you have that done, we can start working on the dark theme. And to work on the dark theme, the first thing we have to think about is, okay, what are the rules I should follow to make my dark theme actually effective, right? And meet its purpose. And its purpose is basically allowing, it has to meet this following key components. Let me get here my notes, because I outlined 3 specific things I want to talk to you guys about. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so the primary benefits of having your dark theme in your mobile app, for one, it saves battery power in your device. Why? Because you are using, so basically your screen is using less pixels to illuminate the whole screen, right? Because you're using a lot of black on the screen. So a lot of those pixels are turned off. Remember how the UI gets rendered is a combination of the pixels on the screen, and the pixels can be either 1 or 0, and one being white and the other one black, right? And they do certain shifts on them, and that's how you get the colors and everything. So if you set the black in the dark theme, that ultimately is gonna save more battery power, because those pixels are turned off. So your screen is consuming less power to render this UI you're showing. So that's one of the benefits of adding the dark theme. Also, less eye strain for your users. If you notice our light theme, we have a lot of white. And if you're in an environment that, let's say you're about to go to sleep, you have all your lights turned off, and you have your screen, your mobile device, and you open GitTrends in the light theme, it's gonna be really, it's gonna be really eye straining for you, because this, remember, everything is pitch dark in your room, and then you have this bright white screen coming at you. Yeah.
It's the worst.
So that also causes insomnia. Literally your sleep goes away, because you're already in the mood and to go to sleep. And people recommend even like not having any contact with electronic devices before going to sleep, like 10 to 20 minutes. But if you do, make sure you're using apps that have a dark theme and are helping your eyes and are not gonna take away your sleep by just having this chalk of light where you're using it. So that's another nice thing. Um, so how can we work with this? remember we chose a visual language, right? And that visual language we chose is material design. And I I showed you guys here that you can always go to the documentation of material design, and almost any topic in design, they're gonna have a reference page where you can learn all the bases for it. So material design has a few recommendations for implementing darting. One of the things they try to emphasize again is keeping a good anatomy in your UI, uh, working with colors around it, and there's a few considerations we should note when implementing darting. And it's not just because if we see our design, right, you could say, well, implementing dark theme is easy because literally I just need to put everything black and I'm done. Right? Makes sense
Yes,
for
just
me.
invert all the colors.
Yeah.
Easy.
Everything that's white, I put black. Everything that's black, I put white. That's it. But actually, it's kind of more complex, a little bit more complex than that. It's not really hard, but there's a certain consideration we should take. So the first thing I was surprised about to learn about, if we come here to the right side of our Adobe XD project, is that right away you can see that we have the light theme color palette, right? And I also define on the right side a dark theme color palette. So here you can already see that that's the moment when I discover, okay, colors are not just to be inverted and applied to my dark theme because that's not going to meet the purpose. So what I actually learned, if you notice the colors on the right side, they are the same they are the same colors of the left, but if you see the shades are a little bit softer, right? If I put this side to side with this one, you can see the difference between the two colors, right? So why are these colors a little bit softer, or how well, using the correct term, they're less saturated than these colors? Well, remember what our end goal is to reduce the eye strain on the user. So everything that is causing us eye strain in those settings with low light and using our screen is having uh, light coming out of our device that is too bright, right? And that light is caused by saturated colors and really light colors like white, right? So when we are working with dark theme, if you notice, all the screens, yeah, they're mostly black. But if you notice this bar here, it's not it's not quite like the background, right? The same darkness as the background. And if you notice the text color, it's also not the same brown I'm using on the light theme, because I just took the same brown and I took a less saturated shade of that brown. And if you use unsaturated colors, and if we go back to our reference on our color palette, right? To make it easy, just use any color below 200 in the color shade of material palette. So below 200, you're guaranteed that any color has a good amount of saturation to work on dark theme, but to not cause eye strain to your user. So I literally, to implement my dark theme palette, I literally just went to the material. Where's the? Let me find the sites here. To the material design uh, color section, right? And remember, they have a really cool tool. Let me find it here. The color generator. that generates you the palette for that custom color you are using. Let's go to my blog, find that generator so I can show you guys how you can generate your own unsaturated colors for your dark theme in your apps. So where is it? Yeah, the color blog post. Mm-hmm. Color, okay, material palettes. Let me check the chat to see if anyone has any questions. No? Okay. So coming back to this color reference page of material design, if we scroll down to the bottom, we come here to this color generator they have, right? And let me zoom out a little bit for you guys. There you go. So let me get first the color. Let's say I want to unsaturate this teal color, which is a shade 500, because this is our primary color, right? Let's go over here. I copy paste the hex code F82, and there you and the first line of the generator, you'll get the palette for that color. I mean, the chart for that color, right? With all of its shades, and it's gonna tell you that color you just put in the generator, which shade is it? So remember, I picked a 500 shade of the teal, but now for using it on my dark theme, I know I need to use it under 200. I mean, shade 200 or below, right? So 200, 100, or 50. So you can go with the default, go with 200, and then I came here, I added this box, I pasted the color, and there you got your unsaturated teal color. So once you unsaturate all your colors, you basically are just duplicating your lighting palette. You put it on the right and you unsaturate all the colors, the accent included, and now you can do the inversion we were talking about, and just everything that was white, make it black, and all the colors that you had, just instead of using the normal colors you have with the lighting, use their unsaturated version for them. And once you do that, that's why it was sort of easy for us in GitTrends, once we had all of this defined in the Adobe XD file, to go seamlessly and apply our dark theme to our app, because literally we just had to define all our dark theme colors, and once it ran, everything was working exactly how we had it defined here, and the colors actually worked. Like you felt the difference when you were using the app.
Yeah, I'd
And
say the only thing that was tough was just simple copy paste errors by us.
yeah. Yeah. We were like, why is this not working? And eventually, like after 10 minutes, we were like, oh, okay.
It's because we told the code to do that color and
Yeah.
copy and pasted it wrong. Whoops.
Yeah. So I want to talk a bit about more in detail about the dark theme and why is our like surfaces throughout our app not exactly the same as our background color, right? If you notice here, you can see that the background color is like pitch black, right? But our bar is actually like black, but it has like some sort of light to it, right? So what we did here is a technique, material design, they call branded dark color. And basically what we did is you can create your own unique dark color for your dark theme. So it aligns with your brand. So if you notice in GitTrends, our brand color, we could say, is the teal we use here in the bar, right? Because that's the same color we're using in our logo. If we go back to the logo here, you can see teal is our brand color. So how can we create our branded dark color for our dark theme? And it's pretty easy actually. Let me come here. If you see here on the right side of the Adobe XD project, you'll see this section called Branded Dark Surface. So to create a branded, our branded dark color, you literally just take the dark color, which in this case, they always recommend using the color 12 12 12, and it's actually black, but not the same as the, you know, if you put like 0 0 0. Let me show you. Yeah, it's really hard to know the difference, but it's there. So yeah, you see, this one is like a little bit smoother, and the other one is just a really rough black. You see, this is pitch black. If we go here, you see how it smooths, like it's a little bit, it has a little light to it, right? So this will be the color for all our surfaces if we will implement a dark theme like a standard, right? We can just use this color throughout all our surfaces, and then through the use of elevations, which is the next thing we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes, we can actually separate everything in our UI and give importance in different ways to all the sections of our app. If you see, because the first thing that comes to our mind is, okay, dark theme is supposed to have everything as dark as possible, right? So wouldn't like my cars no longer be distinguished between my background because I'm using dark and bold? Well, actually no, because by using the technique of giving elevations to our color, you can actually see like a visible separation between this surface and the background, and the other one looks like more in depth, right? The background looks like it's under the card, and this is all done just with handling the colors. So how can we create our branded dark surface? So to create our dark brand surface, we just take this color, right? We remember, if you press the Alt key, click on the on any element in Adobe XD and drag it, it's gonna duplicate that element. So that's what I'm doing here. So we take it here, because what we're gonna do now is go and get our primary color, which is our brand color, which is the 500 teal, right? And if you see here, I kind of implicitly am telling you how to combine them and create your branded color. So the whole gist of creating your branded color, let's bring this our brand color to the front. There it is. So we're gonna put it on top of the dark color, and we're gonna give it an opacity of 8%. And as soon as we give our brand color 8% opacity and put it on top of the standard dark color, you will see the difference right away. And let me put them side by side. And
I was wondering how you did
yeah, and
that.
there you have it. Yep, that's how you create your branded dark theme color. So once we have that, we can now start working with that dark branded theme color, right? This is gonna be like our base color. And so remember, this one has 8%. Our brand color has an opacity of 8% here. But to work with elevations. And elevations are basically, if you guys go back to our first session when I was talking about material design, one of the key characteristic of material design, of how they try and lay out everything in the UI, is that everything is an object and everything has, X, Y, and Z. So we also have elevations in material design, and that's how they try to arrange their components inside their pages, right? They use elevations to their advantage. So if you see here in the lighting, the bar has, let's say, the highest elevation in this whole page, because if you see it on a glance, you notice right away that the background seems like it's under the bar, right? The cards seem like they're on top of this background, but they are not as high as this teal bar over here. So we could say that the background is, if we see it as if we were like in a table, we have all of these components in a table. We could say the background is on C0, which is like the lowest you can be, right? Then we have our cards in C1, which is like I put a sheet on top of my table, and then I put the bar on top of like higher than them, so C2, and now my bar is on top of my card and also on top of my background. And that's how you handle like the hierarchy of elevations and throughout your UI, right? So something to notice is that bars are always gonna have, or should have always, if we go over here, the highest elevation, because those are like the most important part of your UI should have the highest elevation, because everything everything else inside of your screen should go after that, right? So here on the right side of our Adobe XD project, I put some reference elevations that I use throughout our UI, and we kept it simple. We only had cars toolbar, so we didn't have to like add any more reference here. But there's if you add some other elements like a fav icon or stuff like that, that also has the recommended elevation. And if you go here, remember, we always go with our documentation here to help us. So if we go, where's elevations? Dun, dun. See, layout. Let me search it on the bar over here. Elevations. So they have a ton of good recommendations. Yeah, elevation. Under environment. So you go material design, environment, and there's gonna be one that talks about elevations. And here, this is a great GIF, so you can get a gist of how it's working. You see how everything has like its own elevation, and if you, let's say you open the nav bar goes on top of everything else, and everything is kind of like a sheet of paper, and you just play with each component around, right? See how good that GIF is. So when he clicks the car takes more prominence in the Z-axis and goes on top of everything. And yeah, so you basically play with that, and that gives uh, more sense to your UI, and also you can handle the attention of your users to what really matters in that moment in your UI. So here are some recommendation elevations for, let's say, the nav drawer. They use 16 dp. For the app bar, they use 4 dp. For cards, they use between 1 to 8 dps. For fab icons, the big button we put here, you see number 4. They use 6 dp. For buttons, they use between 2 and 8 dp, and for dialogues, they use 24 dp, because remember, dialogue is like an alert, and that should come in front of everything you have in your app at the moment. So if we zoom out, so yeah, that looks really nice, really cool. Light theme, it seems like straightforward. I just use the different elevation the elevation property. I give it the DPs I want, and it's gonna cast a shadow in material design and everything, right? Perfect. But what happens with darting? Because remember, elevations mostly in the light theme, we notice it's around how the shadow is cast on that object, and basically the more elevation you give it, the more prominent the shadow in that component is, right? So we come into this issue in dark theme that we already have everything dark, right? So if I cast a shadow, I'm not gonna see the shadow. So how can we work around this? And dark theme, to handle elevations, you actually handle it with your dark branded color. So what you do is, to give the sense of elevation where you're working with your dark theme, remember how we created our branded dark color? We gave it an opacity and put it in front of our standard dark color, right? Which is this 12 12 12. So for elevations, we literally just make our branded color more and more visible. And the more visible it turns, the more, if you put it on top of the standard color, it's gonna pop out, right? So that's how you can handle elevations. You can literally, here are the recommendations for material design, how they define like what represents 0 dp, 1 dp, 2 dps in the c axis. And here they basically define like, okay, if you put it 5%, I know that when I put it on top of my standard color and next to other dark colors I have, this is gonna give the user a feeling like this is 1 dp on top of the other one. So I literally just came here, I duplicated my branded color a bunch of times, and once I had up to 24 dp, I started setting the opacity to all the colors that are on top of my standard dark theme to the percentages suggested. So for 1 dp we have 5%, 2 dp 7%, 3 dp 8%, then we go up to 9, 11, 12, 14, 15, and 16. It's like the highest in this reference I have, which is 24 dp. So once we have this defined, implementing elevations to our surfaces in my dark theme is easy, right? Because remember, this little nice trick I did here has actually another benefit for you guys. Because remember what we're doing here. We're taking the 12 12 12 color and putting the other color on top. But the resulting color of that is my actual branded color. But how do I get it if it's actually not a color? I just kind of mixed two together, right? And I know I did it with two different two different components inside Adobe Z. So how am I gonna get what that color is? Well, using the color picker tool. So the color picker tool doesn't care that there's two different UI components here. So he's just gonna capture whatever color is being reflected in this area. So that mix we did there, when we put the color picker on top of it, it's actually gonna give us what is the color of that mix. So if we create another box here, we go here, wait, let me just duplicate one of these. Let's say I duplicate this, the standard color, right? If I come here and instead of clicking well, yeah, you can click the color picker, and then you're gonna see the little uh, pick color tool besides the opacity of the color. You press that, and then you're gonna have this. Your mouse is gonna turn into the color picker. Now you put it on top of your branded color that you mix brute force basically. You click on the color, and here you get the hex of your mixed branded color, right? So now it's easy for us to go to our app and just define the hex color of our branded dark color. And for all the elevations, you can do the same. You start shifting, updating that percentages, right? And you start generating all the hex for them, and that's it. You define all those elevations for all your dark colors, and then you apply whatever color uh, is recommended for that surface. So that's how you come here. And now when we go to the repositories list page, we see everything has like an elevation. So basically what we did here is our background color is gonna be 12, 12, 12, 12. It's gonna be 0, 0 dp, right? Then our toolbar, let's see what was the recommended. Our toolbar is gonna have 8 dp of elevation. So our toolbar has the color 212827, and our cards have, let's see, 4 dp. And once you apply each color, that's how you get the effect. Like the toolbar is more prominent, the cards are on top of the background, and the background is pitch black, but we know it's like a smoother black, right? And yeah, that's basically the fundamentals of how you can create your dark theme, create your dark branded color, and implement it to your light theme. So you basically, once you have your light theme, just duplicate the screen. Remember, you click on the top, on the title of this canvas, press Alt, duplicate it, and just start replacing the colors with your dark theme colors. And last consideration, remember we can just invert the white surfaces to our dark branded color, right? And our colors, we have to put this on saturated ones. But if you come here to the trends page, you're gonna notice, and you're gonna be like, hey Luis, but wait, in the trends page, I'm looking at this color, and this color doesn't look like it's saturated, like it's one of the 200 shades, right? It looks like a 500 or something. So yeah, rules, like suggestions are there and rules are there, but you can actually break them in certain scenarios, right? So saturated colors, they're in dark theme, they're not recommended to be used where you're gonna have like a lot of them. Like let's say you have a paragraph. You can't put a saturated color in a whole paragraph. Like let's say you take this bright blue and put it to a whole content paragraph. No, because it's gonna cause a lot of eye strain to our users, because the majority of the screen is gonna be on because of this bright blue, right? But saturated colors, actually, for icons, in you can actually use them. Why? Because remember, the whole purpose of implementing dark theme is having the most part of the screen dark, right? But icons do not occupy a lot of space on the screen, right? There, uh, usually they're 24 times 24, 32 times 22, and it's to highlight something. So if you're gonna use it in something like this, like it's to highlight something, you can use saturated colors. But always make sure you're not overusing them, and if you can use saturated color, go with it. So I really liked how the saturated colors looked for our graph here, and it made sense to me to have it like really stand out in this section. So I went in this section and used saturated colors for our trends page. but this is the only section of the app where they have saturated colors. All the others have unsaturated colors. So you can play around with that. And yeah, just try different combinations and see what works for you. And yeah, just know that if it still feels like really bright, just go with saturated colors. For our empty states, we did the same, and our icons stay the same. I didn't change to unsaturated colors for the infographics of the empty states, because remember, they they don't occupy the whole screen. So even if they're saturated, it's good for me that they stand out and they still feel good to the user when he's using the app. So yeah, I think that's it for today regarding dark theme and elevations. And we should now start creating the mockup for our star tracker feature. I see it's 6:56, so maybe we can take, let's say, yeah, maybe we can take around 15 minutes to create that mockup quickly, and then I'll give it, uh, I'll give it to Brandon so he can walk you guys through to the code base and show you basically what C# for markup is and how we're using it, and we can then show you the trends page, how that UI is formed. And even if we don't finish today the implementation of the mockup, it's okay because we still have a few sessions more. And remember, the whole idea is just to live code it and have you guys collaborate on it. So yeah, the no pressure, Brandon. We don't need to finish it today. We can just give them an overview. So yeah, so let's
No,
go.
no.
Let's go here. Repos insight page. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do. Let me check the chat. I see Ricardo says good tips and tricks for dark team. Yeah. Thank you. And also make sure to go to the dark team reference. They have a lot of tips there that can help you through uh, how to implement this in your apps. C# for markup. Yep. Yeah, that's what we use in GitTrends. And actually, before GitTrends, I used to be a full SAML guy. And it's not because I didn't like C#. It's just because when I got into Xamarin, that's how I learned how to do the UIs and everything. But eventually, because of getting the experience with GitTrends, um, Brandon basically evangelized me, right? And now after I do it,
I forced you to do it.
yeah. After I did the UI in C sharp, and I found it like so much how can you say, like so much more like easier for me because everything is strong type. I can like do everything right there in the code, and like everything felt like more connected to me. So now I actually am preferring the C sharp approach. But I know people love their Samo. I love Samo as well, but no hate. You just go with whatever you prefer. So let's go here and let me duplicate here. Let's create a new line in our Adobe XD project, and we are gonna call this Star Tracker, right? Let's put this here. Star Tracker. And remember, we use the stuff you already have in the project. So since this feature is gonna be, we already discussed, let me give you guys a refresher on the issue. So here's the issue. I had a meeting with Brandon about a month ago through Teams, and we basically brainstormed through each feature and some ideas of how we would like to like implement this in our app, right? And how we visualize it. So if you go to the issue, here we can go to some of the ideas we have. For example, the favorite feature. Brandon suggested, oh, maybe we could like do some like the action we have on Gmail, that you swipe the element and it automatically does an action, or maybe we could have an icon in the card, uh, or maybe we could have like the swipe reveal. You know, when you swipe and you have like the actions on the right side. So yeah, a few good ideas came from that brainstorm, and specifically for the star tracking, a good idea I think we had was to use a segmented control and have this feature actually uh, per repo instead of having a general, right, Brandon?
That
Wait, I think you're cutting out. Can you try and check your
testing
mic?
1, 2. How's the audio?
Yeah, your audio is like breaking. Let me see. Chat, can you confirm if you guys also hear Brandon like breaking? Let's see if the chat is actually active.
Let me know. I can always leave and come back.
Yeah.
It was actually funny when we first connected, but it seemed to work itself out, even though I changed it.
Yeah, like when you first connected to the Zoom, I heard it like this, and then it fixed it, but now it's back to like really like a robot.
It's back.
Yeah, maybe disable and enable your mic.
Mine is not working. Okay, yeah, I'll leave Zoom and
Okay, all right.
is it cool if I'll leave Zoom and come back?
Yeah. You can
All right.
join back the meeting.
You're right.
All right. All right, Brandon is gonna try and leave the Zoom call we have and join back to see if his audio fixes. Let me check if his, yeah, I have him set up in loopback, so yeah. Let's see. So while Brandon is coming back, remember, any questions you have, you can make it in the chat, any suggestions as well. Yeah, it sounded like he was like in another dimension. Oh, now I have two Brandons in the Zoom. Let's see.
Let's see. Testing 1, 2. How am I sounding now?
Oh, perfect. Let's see what
I still
the chat
turn it off, turn it back on.
Yep. Remember, 90% of the problems in IT get solved with a restart.
Easy.
Yep. Let's see if the chat can confirm that everything is sounding right now.
Wahoo Planet Earth.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Alright. Oh, now you need to restart your camera, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, I think it's still catching up.
Yeah.
Zoom usually takes a couple seconds to switch over to NDI.
Alright, no problem.
But it's frozen on my face from the laptop camera.
Yeah. Well, at least the audio is fine, so we can continue for now.
There I am.
Oh, yeah, you're back. All right, so regarding the store tracking, a few of the ideas we had was like maybe we could add a segmented control on the top of the trends page, and have like the trend section and the star section, and when you press the star section, it will switch to the chart, right, and it will show the star chart. And we still didn't decide what we were gonna do with the cards. Maybe we're gonna get rid of those cards when we switch, but we'll see about that. Let's see, what was the other suggestion? If someone sorts by stars and they go into a repo, default segmented control to star chart. Oh yeah, I remember this. So another good idea Brandon was talking about, because before all of this, we were trying to decide should we have it like general in the app, like you know how the site works, like you go to the site, choose a few of your repos, and that like compares all of them together. Let me show you guys how the site basically functions, and you guys can also give us your opinion on this. So if we go here to the site, let's get this repo. So you can basically put a repo here, right? And you search, view star history, and it's gonna plot the star history for that repo. But it also allows you to easily come and let's get another repo to put here. Oh, let's put the community tool one as well. The community toolkit. This one, Xamarin community toolkit. For those of you that are watching, a shout out to Xamarin community toolkit. This is a great compilation of the community of a lot of useful things we can use in our apps, like animations, behaviors, converters, effects, that you can literally use right now in your Xamarin Forms apps, and it's being maintained by like most of the primary members of the Xamarin community. You see Gerald is here, Montemagnum, Steven. So everybody is chipping in and just adding their snippets and resources they have and they use daily. It's a really cool little repo you can use, and they also have a nugget, right, Brandon, for this?
Yeah, it's still in pre-release, but
Yeah.
I saw that Xamarin Forms 5.0 pre-release was launched recently, and one of the big motivations behind um, cobbling together the Xamarin Community Toolkit and hosting it on NuGet is to essentially take some of those experimental features or the features in Xamarin Forms version 4, like 4.8, that were still marked experimental, and move those experimental features into the toolkit so that way we can focus on .NET MAUI going forward and kind of get Xamarin Forms into a steady state. And
Yeah.
so I saw Gerald pushed out a couple pre-releases of the community toolkit on NuGet, but not sure what the plan is for pushing to stable. If I had to guess, it'll probably track Xamarin Forms. So probably when Xamarin Forms 5.0 goes stable, then the toolkit will go stable on NuGet as well. But we'll find out. It is a community effort. I was hanging out with the folks. We added a async command into the community toolkit. So it was
Oh yeah, that would be great.
actually, yeah, it's there right now.
Oh, you added it already?
It's
Let's see.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It's because it's modeled after. I have another GitHub repo called async await best practices, and in there I've implemented a async command. So this was the toolkit's version of async command was heavily inspired by async await best practices, and then a couple folks had some suggestions, so we actually expanded on it a little bit. But yeah, it was a 4,000 line of code pull request to get all of that. It's mostly just the unit tests. The command itself is maybe 100 lines of code, but the unit tests, that's where you want to spend most of your time anyways. Make sure everything's working. Make sure your future devs don't step on any toes. But yeah, no, it's a good time over in the toolkit.
I put both of the repos in the chat so you guys can go and check them out. And coming back now here to our star tracker, well, the star history website, which has like the feature we want to implement. So this is the what we noticed at first that gave us like a design decision we had to decide on, right? do we want to have our star tracker feature to be like general like this? Like maybe it's a separate section in the app, like you can pick any of the of the repos you have at the moment and compare them to others and create this funny graph here between them, or do we want to have them inside of each repo, right? Like only see the stars for that repo and have them maybe inside of the trends page. So
Yeah,
after,
and
yeah,
I think that I was just saying that I think one of the biggest challenges here is if we did it like this, where we can overlay different repos on top of each other to chart their star histories together, it's it's totally doable, but it's almost like a different app than already exists with GitTrends.
yeah,
And that's that's what made it tough when we were chatting about this. It's like we'd almost have to throw out the existing GitTrends UX
yeah,
and layer this in somehow. Whereas if we if we add this chart individually for each repo, so that when you're scrolling through the list on the main page and you tap a repo to go to that trends page, then you can choose on this trends page to see your views and clones history or your star history. And that seemed to make the most sense when we were trying to figure out how to fit this into the existing app. And so, I mean, if anybody has cool ideas, we're
yeah,
always open to suggestions. But this one seemed like we'll say the most straightforward path, uh, allowing us to leverage what we already have and
yeah,
essentially implementing this new feature on top of it.
yeah. Because if you guys notice here in the design we have, our navigation is a linear navigation, right? We're not using a
Mm-hmm.
hamburger menu throughout the app. We're not using like tabs in the home page, which is in our case the ripples. Uh, like your landing page inside our app when once you log in is the ripples list, right? We don't have a tab navigation here, so that's what Brandon was trying to say in regards of the UX. Like we will basically have to throw this out if we want to add like a separate, yeah, if we want to add like a separate section and have like a general feature on it, because if we want to have a general, we will have to have this repos list, right? And that other feature, which is like totally separate, in the same level of navigation, right? And you can pick to which one you're gonna go. So there's a few ways we could do that. We could either have a hamburger menu here and have one option to go like to the repositories and one option to go to the star tracker feature, or we could have like tabs on the bottom here and be like, okay, repos and then star tracking. But that will require from us higher more much more effort than if we just go with the first approach that at the end made more sense, as Brandon says, because what's the whole point of the app? You want to see the trends of your specific repo, right? And how it has evolved throughout time. So it makes total sense to first implement it in each repo and see and has that have that extra stat of how your stars have been changing throughout the time, then just have it general, because we think it's more useful to have it in each of them, right? So at the end, everything
Yeah,
worked. We didn't have to change our navigations, and yeah, we can reuse what we have.
yeah, and plus thinking about just the usage. So on that website, it's startracker.io, right?
Yeah,
On that website, um, it was kind of built to compare stars or compare different repos and their star history.
yeah,
Whereas, like Lewis was just saying, that this app was always around the individual repo and then drilling down into it to see its stats. And that coupled with the fact that on that list we can already sort by stars, like you can already see that high level overview of which one of your repos has the most stars, that it I mean, we'll see how it turns out, but our hunch is that it makes the most sense to put it in this
yeah,
trends page. The only concern I have, and again, we'll see how it turns out, but we'll lose a little bit of height on that chart because we'll have to add in that segmented control.
Yeah.
And that'll take up some of that vertical screen space. So the chart will get a little bit shorter, but I don't think that'll impact the visibility, usability. I think all the data you want will still be there,
Yeah.
and we can just add in that toggle and give you even more data if you want to see your star history now.
Yeah, definitely. So now we're gonna go ahead and try and mock that out quickly here. So what I went ahead and did, remember in the previous session I recommended you guys, each time you're gonna work in something new, put the title here and just work horizontal, right? So you put the canvas here, since we already have the trends page, and this the feature we're gonna be adding is gonna be, we decided it's going to be on the trend page, and the idea we were discussing is maybe have a segmented control here on the top, and that's going to change this chart, and this is going to be a star tracker chart, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and work with that. So we're going to be working with the light team, as I always recommend first, and then after we have everything decided in this light team, we can then just replicate everything to the dark team. So first thing, I think it would be good to, let's see some brief inspiration. Let's see how other people are doing. Uh, uh, Let me see. Okay, maybe the keyword star, or maybe like tracking or charts. Let's see, charts, favorite. Let's see what comes up.
Yeah, because this is where we have a lot of freedom because it doesn't necessarily have to match the trends chart.
Yeah.
And we totally could. We could, because the trends chart I don't think is using any yellow, and since the star SVG icon, we're using yellow for it.
Yeah.
We could totally just duplicate, essentially redo this, but it'd be yellow. It looks like clones are yellow, but clones are usually the smallest. So yeah, you just be greeted with a yellow
yeah, we could
chart that
definitely like
looks exactly
reuse.
like this.
Yeah, we could definitely reuse this chart. Take out all of the others. Just leave this one and rename this to stars, right? And yeah, we could use the same thing. What? How do you feel about the
Ooh,
cars though? Should we like hide them as well and only show the
I
chart?
was I was just thinking that. Yeah, so that legend at the bottom is not there anymore. That was in our original designs,
Oh, you
but
took it out.
then once you came up, yeah, again just to give more height to the
Yeah, to
chart,
the chart.
because once you came up with those cool cards on the top,
Oh
we
yeah,
really didn't need to duplicate that information at the bottom.
true.
And um, so yeah, this is what it looks like today. And yeah, that's what your question is exactly what I was just thinking too, man. I was because where do we put that segmented control? Because
Yeah, so the
we could
segment
put it.
I was thinking of putting it, like taking all of this a little bit down. Let me create a basic semantic control real quick. So we're gonna take the
Yeah.
rectangle tool. Gonna come here. Uh, you're gonna click. You see you have a different axis on the tool on the rectangle. Click the ones that are like this four that are inside of the rectangle. That's gonna allow you to control the corner radius of it. And if you want a specific number, you can come to the properties here and you can set a specific corner radius. So I use 4 typically, but since this is going to be a segmented control, and I want also inspiration on the segmented control. I know we're using Sharpnado, right? Uh,
uh, yeah, heavily. That's
yeah.
and huge shout out to Jean Marie and his sharp NATO. I almost said Sharknado like the movie, but
Yep.
yeah, sharp. What's funny when we were first putting this UI together for version 1, we did everything manually. So as you can see in Lewis's mockups, everything is calculated. The shadows are there, and we implemented those all manually. And that's what we pushed to the App Store. And then I don't know how soon after, I think it was like just a couple weeks, I stumbled upon the Sharpnado library, and I was like, oh, well, this kind of looks like exactly what we're doing. Let me pop it in here and see how it looks. And what's cool about Sharpnado is it just does everything for you. So like you see the scroll let's see, stop on one of the dark mode looking ones, and we can show that just like Luis was talking about the how to do the elevation in dark mode. You can see here that Sharpnado just does it for you. So Sharpnado, I just tell Sharpnado use the elevation of 4, and all those color calculations that Luis brought up earlier, where it added a certain amount of opacity to give it a certain amount of elevation, just by saying to Sharpnado elevation 4, it does all that for me. We don't have to worry about calculating the colors and the opacity. And same is true with light mode. The shadow it gives you is all based off just the input elevation, and it's a really great library. And plus there's a trend going on in the industry with neomorphism. That's kind of the new hotness.
Oh, yeah.
And
Here it is.
he has one of those in Sharpnado, and so it makes it even easier to modernize your app. Yeah. Oh, it looks so good.
Yeah,
so
it looks so interesting.
I've been playing around with. I've got another app in the App Store called Punday that could use a UI refresh, and I started playing around with just neomorphic sizing everything. And so I don't know if I'll keep going. I got a first cut at it, and it's like, okay, I see where this is going, but I was like, I don't know if I love it. Plus, my co-creator of that app kind of he's on hiatus. Once the pandemic hit, he was like, hey, I'm gonna take a break. I was like, all right. Yeah. So I don't know how much effort I want to put into it. If he might just be walking away, which is fine. Yeah. But it's like, should I redo the UI and release a whole new version of the app and put in another 100 hours into it?
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. I mean, I'm also stuck in my home and I have nothing else to do, so.
Yeah, it depends. It also depends also the load you have with the other side projects you have, right? So I know you're maintaining different. You're maintaining different repos at the same time. So it just depends on whatever you decide to work on, right?
That's right.
So something I wanted
segmented tabs right here.
Yeah, something I wanted to come and check out is that I know Sharpnado has like different segmented tabs. I think he made like a blog where he shows all of them. Where is his blog?
That's cool.
Yeah, so we don't even need to like implement the segmented tab like manually as we were doing before, because we're already using this, right? So let me see, where's his blog?
Looks like this one's he's got a couple NuGet packages. Looks like this one in sharpnado.presentation.forms. And the one we're currently using in GitTrends is sharpnado.materialFrame.
Oh, okay.
But I think one has a dependency on the other anyways, so yeah, I mean, I don't see why we couldn't.
Let's see, here it is, material frame. Yeah, here we can find some really cool tabs we can use. Let's see.
Yeah, that'll make it super easy. I was looking at, because we're also using Sync Fusion in this app. That's how we're doing the charts. And so I was looking, Sync Fusion also has a segmented control that we can leverage. But yeah, it looks like sharpnado.presentation.forms, which is where Sharpnado's segmented control lives. That has a dependency on material frame anyways, so
yeah,
everything will just work.
I don't see the. I'm trying to find, like, I know he has a blog with all the different segmented controls. I can't find it at the moment, but let's just make a placeholder one here, and we'll make it more realistic throughout the days. So I'm gonna make this. I liked how he had like the really rounded corners. So let me just make this a little bit like this. Maybe we can just have the 4 corner radius, but let's try with this.
Yeah,
So
and I think the question here is, do we put this control on the top or do we put it on the bottom?
yeah, that's
And
another thing we have to try. So
yeah,
let's
because
put
from
this.
a thumb reaching usability standpoint, you would want to put it on the bottom because most users hold their phones.
Yeah.
You kind of rest it on your pinky and you hold your phone towards the bottom. And if you're like me, you've got the biggest screen size you can find. So reaching the top can be a little tough sometimes. But
Yeah, that's true.
in this case, this is not a button that I anticipate people will tap a lot.
Yeah.
Or is it? Or maybe that's the question, because with the cards, these cards are all tappable. And so what's cool in the app, if you tap a card like the views card, then the views chart will disappear. So if you want to only look at your clones, you can kind of dismiss the different charts by tapping on those cards. And when it, like, circling back to the reachability, usability portion of the UX,
Yeah.
we put those at the top because you're not going to tap those cards very often. There's a default setting in the settings page where you can say always default to only showing me clones or only show me unique statistics and not the total statistics. So putting those at the top makes a lot of sense because you're not going to be tapping them a lot. But one of the things we'll probably want to do, Luis, is we'll add some analytics once we get rolling with this to see how many times does a user tap this.
Oh yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're going to take a guess. We're going to do what looks good and feels good to us. But, you never really know until you push the app out to the world and see, like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, every time somebody looks at their trend page, they toggle to see the stars and then they toggle it back. And it's like, okay, maybe we should put that at the bottom. But
Definitely. So here I'm trying to kind of create the segmental control here, right? It's not perfect.
yeah,
Remember, we're not designers. I'm just putting squares and lines together. I think this should do it for now. Let me see what's the height of this. Height 44. No, let's put like 40. Let's say 48. Let's put this. Connect this. Let's connect this here. Good. Our text here, it's 16. Let me zoom out. Oops, too much. Okay, so let's put this a little bit. Let's put this to, let's say, 16 on the, or 24. Remember, we're using our magic numbers as I recommended in the past session. These are just numbers I use to like separate stuff in the UI while I'm designing. I like, if there are UI components, I always start past 16, then I go in increments of 4, 6, no, 4, 8, or 12. So that's why I was like, oh, 16, maybe 24. I kind of
I like
feel,
that system, by the way.
yeah.
That the multiples of 4. I caught on to that when you did the redesign and we were implementing it in code. It's like, oh, everything's like a multiple of 4.
Yeah.
And there was a couple times where we had to tweak the text or tweak something, and it just made it so much easier. It removed that cognitive load of being like, okay, well, maybe 10, maybe,
Yeah.
and you just kind of guess and check. Whereas you could just go off the multiples of 4. It's like, oh, this is a little bit too big. Let's scale it down to the next size from 8 down to 4. Done. I really appreciate that from an implementation standpoint. Just that way you don't have to think about anything.
Yeah, and it makes total sense because since you are keeping those multiples, in reference to everything else, it's it's gonna be balanced because it's like a multiple of it, right? So it's like you're scaling up and down. So it's not like this is gonna look like out of whack because this is smaller than this. It's gonna look like really well distributed in terms of this because you're going through the same scale, right? So here
Yeah,
I
that's
did it.
that consistency throughout the whole app.
Yeah. So it also makes that easy. Like you're not gonna be thinking about, oh, but if I add this here, is everything gonna still look good? You're guaranteed that it's gonna look good because you're doing it with that standard, right? So I think I'm finished with the segmented control. I'll just change the font of this. Right now it's regular. Let's put it, let's say bold. Yep. And the borders of this, let's put them like the borders of the card. Nice. If we go here, there you go. Okay. Good. So yeah, we have our segmented control. We said, could we maybe have it here or so if we so this is one option, right? Let me copy this to the side. So the other
Yeah.
options you were saying, maybe have it on the bottom, right? So under the graph, under the chart, you mean? Oh yeah, I think that makes sense as well. Let's see. 16.
Yeah, my thought with putting it on the bottom, and I mean, I might be wrong on this because now that I
Maybe
think about it, those
maybe
cards at the top are going to go away. But my initial thought was if the toggle's on the bottom, then the chart will always be in the same spot. So when the user taps on their repo and this page appears, their eye will always go to the same place. Whereas
yeah.
if because we were talking about if we sort by stars, then when they tap on the repo, we should show the stars chart instead of the trends chart. Uh, Again, maybe that's a terrible idea and users will hate it, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
'Cause we'll have some analytics in there. But yeah, so your eye will always, just out of habit, out of muscle memory, be drawn to the same place. And so if we have the toggle down here, then the chart will always start at the same place. Well, and I guess that's true now that I think about it with it at the top. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was a totally invalid point that I was just
But
rambling on about.
something we also have to be careful with. If we're putting it down here, we have to be careful with the screen cutout, right? Because remember,
Yep.
smaller screens, less vertical landscape. So we have to see and test if this in some devices gets like out of the screen. So they're only gonna be seeing, let's say, this part, and they're not even gonna know that the
Oh,
tabs are down there.
I just had a crazy thought, and I don't know if we want to
Oh really?
keep going with all these different different UI options, but
What is it?
um, the chart could also be a carousel view. So you could just swipe right to
Oh,
left and it would switch over to the stars chart. Now, I don't know how
nice.
that'll impact the cards at the top. Like maybe we just disable the cards and keep them there
Yeah.
because the stars chart doesn't have any cards on the top. It's just going to track the stars. But
I
that
mean,
could be something where
can we do
then we
like an
don't lose that height.
animation? And oh yeah, because I was thinking, okay, maybe we can when we change to the stars, we can like to say maybe fade this out, right? And show one card for the total stars you have at the moment. But
Oh,
then,
total stars.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you're gonna see the graph here, but you're gonna have a card that says like, okay, how much do I have in total?
Hmm.
But then it creates the same thing. Like all of this is gonna be empty. We're only gonna have this card, and the thing is gonna be like,
You know what, though? The reason we have these totals here is because the graph doesn't show you the total, whereas the star chart will, because the most recent date on that chart will peak at the total stars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not like this graph is historic, but it's not, each day isn't cumulative. Whereas with the stars, each day obviously builds on the previous day unless somebody unstars a repo, which, well, that's sad to think about. But yeah, I don't think we would, I'm not against having a total stars, but we might not need it. And again, just thinking about like how jarring is it to the user? I mean, you mentioned doing an animation, which is probably the best idea to kind of like fade out the trends cards and fade in the stars card. Um, but something we could just do is like right now, when you tap one of those cards, it or the value on the chart disappears. So if you tap views, that blue views area line will go away, but the card also drops in elevation. So I set its elevation to 0, so it almost sinks into the page. And I wonder if we don't want to have a star card, something we could do is when somebody switches to the stars page, all those cards at the top are still there, but they all get, we'll say, quote unquote, disabled. Like they all will set the elevation to 0 and nothing will happen if you tap them. They'll only be enabled on the trends page.
Yeah. Yeah, that could work as
And
well.
that would be something where like, because yeah, if we made the chart swipeable, so like a carousel view where you just swiped right to left, and we could have a little indicator view at the bottom letting you know that there's another option to go back and forth with, then when you do the swipe, the animation would obviously be the chart swiping right to left, and then those cards at the top shrinking back into the screen, essentially disabling them. But what we're actually doing is just setting their elevation to 0.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me see the chat here. There were, I think Ricardo had some suggestion for us as well. Uh, Luis, oh, he has a question and a suggestion. So he says,
So
"Hey, Luis, you say you are using Fusion for Xamarin Forms for Xamarin Forms. Is this the
mhm.
premium version or the free one?" So yeah, the one we're using in GitTrends is the community license. So yeah, it's totally free and it's free while your
Oh,
app doesn't make more than 1 million a year, right? And GitTrends
I
has no revenue, so
I
yeah.
have a paid license.
Oh, you have a paid license?
Yeah. So
Oh, nice.
um, yeah,
Okay.
and well, what's kind of cool with Sync Fusion is when you buy a license. So the one I have, it's a subscription. It's a subscription that lasts for a year, and then every year you renew it. But if you don't renew it, you still get the version you paid for forever. So like, let's say right now, Sync Fusion, the chart we're using is version 8.1.2. Well, if I stop paying for the license, as long as I don't update that NuGet package past 8.1.2, we can continue using this, and I can continue using my current um, license key, and everything would work great. So that's something that's really nice to Sync Fusion does, because otherwise, if you just forgot to renew your subscription, then all of a sudden all of your users' apps would break.
Yeah.
but but yeah,
Oh,
so
I
yeah,
didn't
there
know
is a
we had
free tier for Sync Fusion.
a pay version. Nice. We're balling. We're balling in GitTrends.
but, but yeah, I mean, we totally don't have to, because we don't have the user count or the revenue income. Well, we've made $0 on it.
Yeah.
Total revenue from GitTrend has been $0. But yeah, we totally could use the community one. But since I had the paid subscription already, then
Yeah.
why not? Oh, that's a cool idea. A little motivational message.
Oh yeah. So this is something I kind of started thinking while you were talking about what we could do with the cards and the space.
Yeah.
So maybe we could just, these are definitely not the colors we're gonna use, but it's just a placeholder, like the layout, what we could do. So what I did was I created a rectangle of the same dimensions of the four cards, right? And maybe it could go from edge to edge, and let me take away this radius so it looks like it's, let me take away the borders. There you go. So something like this, and maybe we could like the same idea I was saying about, okay, your total is this, and then they can see like how it evolved, and maybe we could like give him a motivation message here that we can change randomly. Like we have, like we have like the
Yeah.
initialize page you have, that you have like different messages. We can show
That's a
them
cool
one
idea.
random here. And the
And
title here, I don't know what we could put, but maybe this could work. And let
you
me
could
put,
probably just use total. Like for that, the same advice you gave me a couple weeks ago when I added that total button on
yeah,
that repos page where you can see your totals, reviews and stars and clones. Yeah, you could probably say total 250. Keep
oh,
it up.
here,
Great work.
total. Okay, yeah, total
And we just have like
250.
a list of, I don't know, 10, 20 motivational messages.
Yeah,
Because that's another way to get people to keep coming back if they see, well, A, they're going to feel good about themselves if we say, great job.
yep,
Because, well, at least I know I would feel good if an app told me I was doing a good job.
yeah,
But at the same time, if you notice that the message changes, then it kind of encourages you to, even if you just swipe back and tap back into it to see what the next message
yeah,
is, and kind of helps with that engagement.
yeah, totally. 32. So I'm playing around with the with the font sizes. This doesn't have to be exactly how it's gonna end up being, but just playing around with it, and I think something like this could work. Let me get a little bit more space between this.
Yeah. So I don't think this is what you're going for, but I
And
kind of see, everything we've been talking about has been elevated. So like those cards, the chart, all of
yeah,
that's elevated. Um, and it almost looks like we're doing the opposite here, where everything is pushed into the page, almost like it's is depressed.
yeah,
It's not sad depressed, but it's like pressed into the page, almost like it's like this chart's almost like hiding behind your trends, which could be like a cool. I don't know. Is negative elevation a thing, Lewis?
hmm. So you want to add it, or you don't want to add, like, because you are you what I tried to do here was try and make it seem, as you're saying, like it's on the deepest level, right? And everything
Hmm.
else is like on top. So yeah, it's not a negative elevation. It's just like going to the lowest you can, and everything else is higher than this. So it looks like a ribbon. That's what I. That's like the idea was like having it like a ribbon here, and yeah. But negative
Yeah,
elevation,
because I
I don't think. No, I haven't heard
Z
anything.
level ish. Uh, yeah, because I mean, what I was thinking is if we went with the carousel view route where you got to swipe between these two charts,
Mm-hmm.
then when you swipe to view the stars, if it could almost look like this chart's always there behind it, but it's just below it. It's almost like you're like peeling off or turning a page in the book, or
Yeah.
I don't know, peeling off a sticker and hiding something behind it. And I'm just spitballing. I don't even know
Yeah.
if I'm not a designer. I don't know if negative elevation's a thing,
It
but
sounds cool because if you see the transition as you're saying it, let's say we're swiping from right to left, right? And this just comes like under this, and this maybe like we can do some, Xamarin Forms has its out of the box animations, and I think with those we can do it. Maybe just make this easing from right to left, and this maybe we can hide and have it like this. I don't know. I like the idea. We can maybe do something
Yeah,
with it.
it's like I feel like there's something there. But,
Yeah. So yeah, we have around 20 minutes left. So if you want, I think this is a good start for what we can do for the star tracking. Um, if you want,
yeah.
just walk the attendees through the code and get them familiar with it. And probably on the next session, we can just start with you and the code, and I'll finish this mockup, polish it a bit more, the ideas, and have something for next session. And we can probably
Oh
just
man, and make me wait a week before I can start playing around with this. That's torture.
yeah. No, I mean we can implement the segmented control if we want. Like we can do the segmented control at
Oh,
the top and
I don't know,
see.
man. I'm starting to take the like dropping segmented control in favor of
Oh, of the swipe.
the carousel. Yeah.
Yeah, but how are we gonna have the indication so they know that if they swipe, like that, like what are we gonna put
Just
here so they know they can swipe to the left and change this?
yeah. My thought was if you show the onboarding page, that similar kind of indicator view that yeah, actually it's called the Xamarin Forms indicator view at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, you mean like
You just show
the,
two
yeah,
dots.
the dots here.
and I don't know if we wanted like we could just do two dots, or if we wanted to feel crazy, like one dot could be the eyeball icon that we use for views, and the other dot could be the stars, and the star would be grayed out, or the star icon would be grayed out if you're looking at the trends chart, and if you're looking at the stars chart, then the blue views icon would be grayed out. That's probably a little too overkill, but yeah, I think two dots there.
Yeah, so
and
you're saying something
and
like
maybe there's something we do for like a first run experience where sometimes when you launch the app and it wants to show you like there's more data here, it'll kind of give you like a quarter swipe and then move it back.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
It's like, hey, just so you know, there's something back here.
Yeah, that could work as well. Yeah, I like the idea as well. Yeah, we can show the the dots here, and maybe in the middle here, so we don't have to worry about this being cut off. Like maybe put,
Oh, in between the cards and the chart.
yeah. So, oh wait, what's happening? Okay,
Well, that
how much do I have here?
just
32. Let's give it 42.
is that a
42.
thing? I'm just trying to think. I'm not against it. I'm just trying to think because putting the dots on the bottom is a pretty universal paradigm to say like,
Yep.
you can swipe this. Would it confuse people to have the dots in the middle?
Yeah, because then they're gonna probably ask themselves, "Am I swiping this or am I swiping that?"
Oh yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean,
Yeah, that's
because
true.
I think the way the indicator view works, you can also tap the dot. I think that's baked
Yep.
into the indicator view. It'll
Yeah, you
jump
can
you.
tap it as well.
But yeah, maybe just go with the bottom.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give it some space. 16. There you go. Let's group them. Put them centered. No, centered in reference to the chart. There you go. Yeah.
This is gonna be cool.
Yeah, that seems good. So this is, in our case, let me just duplicate it here. So this is out. We can move all of this back to the top. 16, he said. There you go. Yeah, and maybe now that since we have more space on the bottom, maybe put it 24 so it looks like, you know? There you go.
Yeah,
So
because
let's zoom in a little bit.
something I
Yeah.
just remembered, and I'm just thinking out loud while you're doing this, is that one of the biggest challenges I had with implementing the new UI was the smaller screen sizes. I think
Yeah.
that's where we found, we'll say, most of the UI bugs when we were getting ready to launch it was just running it
Definitely.
on a tiny Android display, because those devices still exist. People
Yeah.
still have older Android devices. Especially this app has international use. So it, um, in countries where, you know, people don't buy the latest greatest iPhone, the latest greatest Android devices, they just
Yep.
will use whatever they get for free with their plan. And I mean, I guess everybody does that everywhere, but it's more common in certain places than others. But yeah, there's still tiny little Android devices, and we had to kind of rethink some things. Like, okay, maybe this should be a scroll view. Maybe this one over here, we should shrink the if we shrink the text by 2 points, then it'll just work. And um, all that to say, I'm liking this swipe design more and more because um, it'll 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 save us those headaches for trying to make this look good on smaller screens.
Yep. Totally agree. Let's put nice. Okay, that's the star color, and let's put this white.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to do this. Don't hold me to this, but something that would be kind of cool. I mean, we're caching all this data in the database so that the app will still work if you're offline. And something that might be neat, since we have the previous values in the database, we could have some sort of animation, like maybe, and this star you just added kind of got me thinking, was like maybe that star explodes or like shoots out confetti if
Oh
you
yeah.
come back and you've gotten more stars. And so
And you
like
know
you had 250.
who made an animation related to that? Khalil. You know the community member that did the GitTrends stop motion graphic. I believe like 2 or 3 weeks ago
Oh yeah.
he did like a Xamarin sample
Oh, you're
doing some
right.
confetti
Yeah.
animation. Yeah, could maybe steal that.
Yeah. 'Cause that'd be cool. I mean, I don't know. We could do something similar with the other page too, so the other one's not so boring, like views and clones.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we're caching all this locally in a SQLite database. So one of the things we could do is just reward you for coming back and kind of, again, given that given that feel goodness to the user is one of the things I found will always I would say always keep them coming back, but encourage them to come back, because you can encourage people to come back by sending annoying push notifications, but eventually they'll just turn off
Yeah.
notifications or delete your app.
Yeah, they'll delete
Whereas
your app.
in
They'll
this
be
case, we're
like,
like, hey,
leave
you're
me
doing
alone.
great.
They'll be like, let me have a afternoon in peace, please.
I've done that. I mean, there's like those notifications that are like, are you still here? It's like, what? Because I haven't used your app in 2 days, you send me
Yeah.
a push notification? Like, no.
Yeah, I think I really like what we got so far. See, we have the slider, the carousel here. We can slide, and this will be kind of
Yeah.
the potential view we had here.
And that dot on the bottom would be what, yellow, the right one? And then the other one would be grayed out.
Oh yeah, we can. So yeah,
So
we
the
can.
actually something I just noticed too is the UI is a little bit different now. That chart is inside of a Sharpnado material frame,
Yeah, yeah,
and the background color isn't FFFFFF perfect white. It's like F1, F1, F1,
yeah.
I
It's
think is
like a
what
gray.
Xamarin recommends.
Yeah,
Just to, and for anybody that has no idea what I'm talking about, when you implement material frame and you do this elevation, well, if your background is perfectly white and then your cards are perfectly white, it kind of makes the elevation look a little weird. Whereas if
yep,
you can keep your cards at pure white, so FF, 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 and hex, and just tweak the background white just a little bit to make it like a tint of gray. It makes everything just pop. And that's something that
yep.
actually, it wasn't until I pushed it to the I pushed it to the App Store and then John Marie came around. It's like, oh, hey, actually, you're kind of doing it wrong. I was like, what do you mean? He's like,
Yeah.
just change this color. And like Lewis is saying, we've
And we
got all
were
the
so
colors
happy
and
about
stuff.
it as well. We were like, damn, our design is perfect. And then he comes like, nope. But
Yeah, but then it just like
yeah,
popped. It was like, wow, I didn't realize I was missing that.
yeah.
Thank you.
And that's the good thing of having it open source and like just getting a lot of opinion from different people. Like we can like
Hmm.
so many workarounds we found that we were like forcing manually, and our everything now looks like good. So yeah, so all of you that are watching right now, download the GitTrends app because this is another important part about while you're doing like your redesign and you're doing the Adobe XD project, you have a design here, but eventually more improvements are gonna come along the way, but not necessarily because those new improvements you have applied, you went straight to the code and done them. Means that you have to come to your project and like redo it everything. It will be good that this is like completely the same as the mobile app, but you don't need to like slow your deployment of the new version because you have not updated this. Just keep in mind that the GitTrends app has a few more improvements, like Brandon said. The background is a bit grayer. There's more cards added as surfaces, and we can
Hmm.
definitely add them to this Adobe XD project. But don't shy away from doing tweaks while you're implementing, and don't be like, oh, if I don't do it exactly as I did in Adobe XD, it's not gonna come out right. You can keep improving. So
Totally.
Brandon, it's 7:56.
Yes. Hmm.
I think the mockup looks great. We have the slide, the indicators here. See, I'm a designer. I even put like the dark gray in the middle, the borders a little bit.
No, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, and
I mean, the only
yeah.
thing that I see on the new one is just it's still showing the trends data, and so we can figure this out later. But
Oh
do
yeah,
we
the
want to
chart.
do? Yeah, like this chart is called an area chart, where the area below the line is filled in,
Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense when you're showing multiple values. But do we want to do an area chart for stars? I mean,
Let's
it's
see.
really just going to be more of a line that's trending upwards, and
Yeah.
that's how the star history is it starhistory.io? Star tracking?
Yeah. Star
That's how the original
history.
one.
Yeah. The star history is just using a line chart. See.
Yeah.
So I know
Yeah. So we
Syncfusion
could.
has different type of charts. Here we can see a few of
Mhm.
them. So this is like their line chart. Mm, they also have this. What is this called? Fast line chart. So it looks like
Fast line.
electricity.
Yeah, reminds me of like looking at stocks,
Yeah.
the stock market.
This one is like dashed. Let's see what else they
Yeah,
have.
because for the most part, our chart should always trend upwards. The star chart, I think it's well, I'm speaking for myself. I rarely unstar repos, and
Yeah,
so I
me
assume
too.
it's rare for people to go like clear out their stars. I don't know. Maybe you
Yeah,
got in a fight with the maintainer and you don't want to support him anymore, but
yeah,
I don't think many
like
people will regress in their star count. So
like
yeah, I think
how
something.
bad your day has to go, so you go and say, you know what? I'll just go to my GitHub and start starring all the repos I have started. Like
I'm
what?
gonna go out of my way. Right.
Yeah, but going back to your point, yeah, this chart is always gonna be a trending chart, like an increasing. So yeah, it doesn't make sense to have an
Actually,
area chart for this.
scroll back up to that. Ah, I should have missed the name on it. So that's when we're using the area chart. But there was one that showed almost the increase.
Let's see.
As you scroll, I'll try and shout out the name when I see it. Yeah, that one.
This
And I'm
one?
watching the stream, so I'm a little bit behind you. The range area chart.
Range area. Range. Oh, okay. This one. Oh.
Yeah, and so what might be cool about that is, and I don't know if I'm maybe thinking too much about this, but like if you got 10 stars in one day, because everybody watching your Twitch stream goes and stars GitTrends repo, right? Well, then you'd see this bump that day,
Yeah.
and you would see it on the line chart anyways. But if it was filled in below, then that would just kind of make it more dramatic. So like that bottom line could be the previous day, and so you would see that almost dramatic increase. But
Yeah,
I
because
don't
I'm
know.
looking at this
Maybe I'm
chart,
thinking
but I
about it too
don't
big.
quite get. Let me see. Because I'm looking at the figure, but I don't know if I'm the only one, chat. Sorry if I am. I'm not quite getting how this chart is working. Like, why do we have like this shape?
I mean,
So,
this one it's two lines. So there's that bottom line and then there's the top line. But
oh, high and
I don't
low
know.
values. Okay.
Um, so like, yeah, your low value for that day would
Yeah,
be basically the previous day's value,
the previous
and
day.
then you'd
Yeah,
see that. But
I'm making reference to that one. It changed.
I don't know. I feel like there's something there. Like when your
Yeah.
chart pops, like on a day where a bunch of people star the repo, then
Yeah, it looks interesting.
yeah, that's something you would want to try and highlight. Or at least I would want to see that as a user. That'll make me feel good.
Yeah, this one, and also the like how it's shaped and everything is gonna like be interesting to the user. But yeah, it makes sense because you can have like your past day like high, right?
Oh,
And today's
ooh,
high.
or kind of well, totally different.
Uh-huh.
But we could have two y axes. So one y axis is your total star count, and then the other y axis could be the star count or the I guess the daily change.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I know how to do that in Excel, but I don't. So I don't know. Maybe that's overthinking it a bit. But yeah, I would say I don't know. I guess we could start with the area chart. So like the line chart that's filled in below it.
Yeah, and there's like
I
a
mean, that would at least
ton.
give consistency.
Yeah, there's a ton of charts here. I know there's like a chart for analyzing all this stuff we're talking about. So I'll try and go through this and see if like maybe there's a chart that's specific for our case. But yeah, we can start with the area chart as you said. Because look at this
Yeah.
example like this histogram. This looks interesting as well, but I don't think it applies to our chart price.
No,
No,
that's what
no,
I was
no,
just thinking. I think we could map this data as a histogram.
no. I have
At
so
least not in the not in
yeah,
the way we're thinking about it.
yeah. I
Like the
have
histogram could show us like
what is
the
that?
average daily increase in your stars. But
Yeah, but then
yeah,
we
we can
also
start
have
with
to
the area chart.
decide what do we want the user to get out of this chart, right? Do we only want to hit to see to give him like, okay, this is how your stars grew, or do you
Hmm.
like are we comparing day by day the percentage you're growing, or like what do we want to show him? That's what we have to decide.
Oh,
Because maybe
oh, that's kind of a cool idea.
let's say maybe
Uh,
he started a campaign to to make his rebel popular or something. He would probably want to
yeah,
see in that week how much was the percentage of growth after he did some XYZ stuff, right?
yeah. And I was just thinking, oh shoot, what was I just thinking? I had a really cool idea and I lost it. We're seeing the stars.
The
Shoot,
increase
maybe it'll come back
percentage.
to me. Oh, wait, something like the stock market. Oh, yeah, there we go. So, like when you look at your 401k, for example, you see it'll tell you like the year to date change. So it's like your 401k has gone up 5% since the beginning of the year. That could be like another metric we have in the card above. So like right now we have total stars, but we could put something in there that shows like, oh, I don't know, like your rate of return kind of thing for your, how many stars you've gotten this year, the percentage increase, or your stars interest rate. I don't know what we call it, but that could be something where it could encourage people to work more on these open source projects. Or, you know, if you come in and you see that like normally my stars are trending up 10% on the year, but it's dropped down to 8 over the last month, it's like, oh, well, let me add a new feature, or let me tweet about it, or like promote it, or do something that might encourage people to come back. And again, hopefully that's never a decrease, but
yeah,
I mean, there's probably
that's a good idea.
Probably a good term we could come up with, like something along the lines of like interest rate or rate of return, like, because that's, in my mind, I'm just kind of picturing the stock market and looking at your performance for the year. That could be something totally unique. I don't think anybody's doing that.
Yeah, I like that idea. I'll play around with it in the design and see how we can add it here. So, okay,
Right.
it's 8:06. Do you wanna do 10, 15 minutes of showing an overview of how the project is structured and the code, and maybe on next session you could start right away and show them the trends page, and we can you can start coding in the first hour on the next session.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a YouTube link because I presented at the Indianapolis Xamarin user group earlier this week, and it was all about how to architect your Xamarin Forms apps. Hi, everybody, I'm back.
Yeah, you here in this
and
and
I wanted to grab the link to that YouTube video because you mentioned talking about how the app is architected.
Yep.
Well, this was I think a 3-hour meetup where it was about nothing but architecting the app. So let me see. I think the the meetup owner tweeted out the link, and yeah, there it is. So let me copy paste this into the chat. This way, if anybody wants to, you can. I mean, I would probably watch it on 2x or 3x speed because it is long, but you can get a tour of the GitTrends app. Let's see. GitTrends architecture. I didn't spell that right. There we go. And yeah, let me pull up my screen here. And I know we're a little bit over time, but we can do 5 minutes in the code.
Yep. Let me set up your camera here.
Sure.
Standard. Here it is. So come over here. Okay, I need to take mine out. Window capture, and there you are. Okay, good to go.
All right. So let's bump up some font sizes. So, so just to show you just a little bit on a high level of what the C# markup extensions look like, it should feel pretty familiar to you, even if you've maybe only worked in XAML in the past. But if we check out this is the trends page. This is the one that we've been working on all day. And similar to how we do it in XAML, we define our content, and in this case, it's a grid. And what we have in this grid is a couple rows. So this is actually one of the things I love about C# for markup is it lets you name your rows, because, well, the reason I love this is I would always get my rows and columns confused. Like this is the first row, but it's row 0. And then you just have to mentally keep track of like, okay, now this one's row 6, column 2, and it would always trip me up. But what's nice with the C# markup extensions, you can actually define your rows. So this one has an absolute grid length of, well, we'll say a fixed height, and then the chart is star. And what we do is when we add our children to the grid, we just tell it which row to go into. So that statistics grid, which is those 4 cards, that goes into the row called statistics. And then the trends chart obviously goes in the chart called the row called chart. And then we can also do things like, so there's also something that shows up if there's no data, and obviously that activity indicator that'll spin, letting you know we're downloading or hitting the APIs to fetch your data. But yeah, if we wanted to do things like, if we wanted that statistics grid to span the whole page in C# markup, you can just say, well, in this case, it'd be row span. Oh, row span. Dang it. There we go. Row span, and you can say 2. Or what's really cool is if you don't want to count your rows, or you want this to be dynamic, like if I add more rows, I don't want to have to come back in here and change it from 2 to 3. Then you can just say span across all the rows, because I know this will always span across all the rows. So highly recommend C# for markup. There's a whole host of reasons why I love it. But if we jump into, I want to jump into that trends chart code to show folks, give you a sneak peek of what we'll be doing next week. So this chart, like we talked about earlier, is a Syncfusion chart. So SF chart, this comes from the Syncfusion NuGet packages, specifically syncfusion.xamarin.sf chart. And what's nice about this is the Syncfusion chart does a lot of the work for us. So I made, in this class, I made a couple properties so we could bind to things and get values later. But basically what's going on here is Syncfusion has this concept of series. So whatever data series we use for our chart, there's probably a line series. In this case, we're doing an area series. There's probably a bar graph series. And so we set this up just to reuse as much code as possible, because we knew each series will have a title, it'll have X and Y data and a specific color. And so when we initialize this trends chart, then we can just pass in those values. So we can just say new trends area series, and then since we're doing everything in C#, we just set our bindings to the trends view model to get things like the daily views list and see if it's visible or not, if the user tapped it to disable it. And so it's pretty stinking easy with Syncfusion. And the other nice thing is this chart behavior collection. So this chart, let's go ahead and pull it back up here. Oh, looks like simulator's frozen. Great. Oh, hey, there's my other app. That's the one I was talking about redoing the UI on.
And I really like how easy you, like you're saying, Syncfusion makes it for us, because just having everything in our series and, like being able to add the behavior to the chart, like this is all work that we don't have to do manually. Like that's the whole benefit of having a great library like this implemented in your app.
Yeah, because things like, so these X and Y axes will scale automatically. I just basically told it the maximum Y value, the maximum date range, and then it just displays everything. And yeah, these chart behaviors like that zoom and pan is literally what it sounds like. So you can zoom, you can pan, and then let's see if I can zoom out on the emulator. They don't make it easy. And then that trackball behavior allows you to kind of tap and drag to see those exact values. So yeah, Syncfusion made it super easy to do all this. We just had to essentially bind the data and tell it what color, which makes our life easier. So my plan when we get rolling again next week is I'm probably just going to copy paste this for all intents and purposes. I mean, there's probably some code we can share between the two, because things like we want to keep certain things like the padding and the margin the same. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, we'll basically just copy paste this chart. We'll probably have to rename it. This will want to be like trends chart. The other one will be stars chart. But for the most part, everything's already done, because I went ahead and we added that data to our model. So this, what's it, repository model? Where do I keep that? Dun, dun, dun. There we go. So we have the list of stars already being tracked in our model. And so all we'll have to do in our view model is just surface that data, essentially. So in our trends view model, we give it that repository. And so in here, this is all just around views and clones because that's the only thing the chart displays right now. But yeah, we'll just add in some logic here to also pull out that repository's, let's see, starred at. So yeah, what's interesting, the way the GitHub API feeds you this data, they give you just a bunch of date times for all intents and purposes. So the count is just how many of these date time values are there. And then, so what we'll have to do is pull out that, this start at date time. So I will say one thing I noticed, or that just kind of hit me while we're talking about this, is the GitHub API gives me these date times, but it doesn't give me the aggregate value on those days. So it looks like we'll have to do some math in here to say, like, the first date time was January 1st. So that means the first star was January 1st. And then there was another date time value on January 3rd. So then they had two. So we'll have to do some math down here. It looks like it won't be as quick and easy as I initially thought, but that's okay. We're good at math.
Yep.
And yeah, the only other thing we have in here, because really this is all the logic we need. But one of the things we check when the user taps it, because you can tap on that row while the app is still refreshing. And so if the app's still refreshing, it's still pulling the data from GitHub and it hasn't gotten it yet, then that's when we need to make another call to the GitHub API. So we'll add in that logic there, and we'll add in logic about storing the cache values. But yeah, man, it should be pretty straightforward. I think the once we get the user experience nailed down, where, you know, I'm just starting to love more and more that swipe, and then those statistics on the top where we can show, like, we'll call it the interest rate, your rate of return for stars, and that encouraging message. You know, once we get that nailed down, this shouldn't be too bad. So
yeah, and that's the
yeah,
good thing about doing it this way, is that they're gonna be able to see how what actually takes most of your time when doing an app is just deciding how you're gonna position everything, make it look good, and then implementing it. If you already have a really well architected app, as Brandon has done in GitTrends, you're gonna see how seamless we can literally just implement any idea we have in the Adobe XD project. So
at
yeah,
least that's the plan, right?
yeah. If
Tune in next
everything
week to
goes
see if it is that.
okay, if everything goes okay, that should be the plan. So
That's right.
give me a second. Let me come back here and let me see why my camera is not coming up.
I lost you, Luis. Are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Am I still here?
Hello, hello.
Huh. Yeah, looks like I'm flying solo.
What?
Well,
No. Wait, I'm here.
let's see if we give him a minute to come back. But
Like
yeah, and like we
this.
said at the top of the show, if you have any more ideas about what we can do for the app,